Good morning, Year 6, and welcome to Monday, the 11th of January's home learning for today. So, for literacy today, we are going to analyse the following text called The Wizard's Wrath. So, you should have this in your home learning pack, or you should have an electronic version that looks similar to this. Right at the bottom of the sheet is the text. Sorry. Just before I get started, there are 3 sheets. You don't have to do all of them. You can see at the top of each one there is a qualifier. So this one is the trickiest, meaning it's the hardest. The next one is trickier, so it's the middle, and the tricky one is the easiest. I'll let you choose which one you think is appropriate for you. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a read through. We're going to introduce the purpose. So, for this outcome of writing, we are going to write a suspense story in response to a video. Okay, so today we're just going to look at a good example of a suspense story. And really what I'm looking for over this unit is to see who can write in a style that when I read it, it gives me goosebumps and it leaves me asking, what happened? What happened? Why has it stopped there? I really, really want to be excited and want to read more. Okay, so on to the Wizard's Wrath. Now I've split it up into a couple of sections that I'm going to do. So the first thing is to think about what suspense means. So suspense is when you read something and you are desperate to carry on reading to find out what happens. It leaves you with so many questions, like a feeling of excited anxiety almost. Okay, and so from this, this is an example of suspense, and the title here is The Wizard's Wrath. So wrath is a word meaning sort of revenge, almost like revenge, or just sort of it's a negative word associated with somebody quite powerful but also quite evil. Okay, so slowly I open my eyes, alone in a dark room. My head heavy with confusion, my heart pounding with fear, my mouth dry with uncertainty. Where am I? I thought to myself. And like a dam bursting, my memory came rushing back. Urgently, I leapt up from the floor, ignoring the searing pain in my legs, but like a newborn deer taking its first steps, I collapsed, sending a small side table clattering noisily across the floor. I froze as the sound bounced around the room, reverberating viciously against my ears. After what seemed like an eternity, the noise came to an end and was replaced with another low sound, a slow tap, 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 that grew faster and faster, closer and closer, the unmistakable echo of footsteps. He was coming. So the first thing you notice about this is the amount of short sentences. Slowly I open my eyes, alone in a dark room. And then there's the person saying this. It's written in first person because of the use of I. He's saying, where am I? And then like a dam bursting, my memory came rushing back. So there's that part there, and then urgently, straight away after that, the memory comes rushing back and urgently is leaping up. And here we go to slightly longer sentences, so more of a description here. So a good suspense piece uses short sentences to set the scene, but also to build pace, to build the speed of the reading, if you like. Okay, and then further on, we've got the side table noisily clattering across the floor. I froze as the sound bounced around the room, and then after what seemed like an eternity. Okay, and then further on, there's the other sound, a tap, 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 a tap, 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 that grew faster and faster, closer and closer, going into short sentences, the unmistakable echo of footsteps. He was coming. So the question we're left with is, who is he? And with the idea of the Wizard's Wrath, is he good? Is he bad? Don't think he's good, because here we are ignoring the searing pain in my legs. The person who's talking has been alone in a dark room, almost like a prison. So we're getting the idea that this person might be in trouble. Okay, so these little clues that we pick up throughout, and these short sentences are building suspense at the moment. Okay, and the language is very vague here. He was coming. Okay, it doesn't say who, It just says he was coming. And we're kind of dropping in clues. We're keeping the reader hooked at this point. And this part here, like a dam bursting, my memory came rushing back. Well, what memory? What came rushing back? What is he? What happened to him? The burning questions that are in my mind when I read this. Okay, so the next one. Now this next section employs a writing technique called show, not tell. Okay, so the last thing we learned there was an unmistakable echo of footsteps, and he was coming. The sweat began to pour. In my lap, my hands trembled like a leaf in an autumn storm. My heart was in my mouth, racing even faster than before. So these two sentences here, are showing us that the person who is talking is scared. He's got sweat pouring. His hands are trembling like a leaf, and his heart was in his mouth, racing even faster than before. All three things that would happen when somebody's scared, and that's showing them. It's not just saying, I was scared, like telling them. Then I remembered the artifact. He had no chance if I still had it. Frantically, I patted my pockets, my coat sleeves, searching for my only hope. Gone. Jesus, where the hell is it? I muttered urgently, crouching on my knees, searching the floor desperately. With the force of a dragon's breath, the door slammed open. I'd lost all hope until my hands closed around the thin wooden object. My salvation. Slowly, I turned to face my foe. The dim light from the corridor was shining on the side of his face as he stood silhouetted by the splintered remains of the door. Terrified, I stood there gripping the artifact with white knuckles, hoping that if I did not breathe, I would not be noticed. He seemed frozen in time. He couldn't be already, could he? I'd not felt the artifact even shiver. I tried my best to hold my lungs tight with the last breath I'd taken in. I just could not hold it much longer. He was standing there gazing ahead. He was still standing there, gazing ahead of him in another direction to mine. So here, at this point, after the show not tell, we get this idea of an artifact, and he had no chance if I still had it. Well, again, why? The language here is very, very vague. Okay, so we've already spoke about that. And he's patting his pockets, and it's gone, searching for his only hope. His only hope gone. Okay, but we didn't know what the hope was before. We just knew it was an artifact. So it's very vague, almost like a little clue being dropped in. And then we've got the use of speech here. Jesus, where the hell is it? I muttered urgently, crouching on my knees. And that brings the next part on, that it's gone, but he's still looking for it on the floor desperately. And then the door slams open. You can see here that we've got a mixture of slightly longer sentences and shorter sentences again, like my salvation. Slowly I turned to face my foe. We've got a little clue here. He seemed frozen in time. He couldn't be already, could he? So the language still is very vague. What does it mean? He seemed frozen in time. He couldn't be already. Implies that he might be in the future in the next paragraph. And then we know that the person who has written this is standing still, barely able to breathe for what might happen next. And we've spoke about all of those. All of a sudden, I let out a huge sigh. Quicker than a lightning bolt, he span in my direction, his puny evil eyes burning through mine. His arm began to raise. His crooked, lengthy finger that looked like a lumpy wand pointed at me. Sensing danger, the artifact began to hum with power. Time slowed to a fraction of a second. I saw the white-hot bolt of lightning leave the man's fingertip, watched it zigzag across the room, and pass straight through the shadow of my body. Smiling, I let my mind wander free as the world blurred and swirled around the artifact. Quite interesting. Slowly, I opened my eyes. Reality refocused. The room vanished. The man vanished. Smiling, I stood beneath the midnight sky on the cool desert sand. I sighed again, this time with relief. So this time the sentence length has gone they're quite quick sentences, aren't they? They're quite short, they're quite simple. And this builds the pace that something, menacing is about to happen. You can see here that I'm going to guess that this is the wizard's who's seen him and has pointed his finger that looked like a lumpy wand. Now that's quite an interesting use of language to describe the man who may be a wizard. And then the artifact has come to life and seems to have slowed down time by to a fraction of the second, so much so that the author has watched the white hot bolt of lightning pass through his shadow of his body, and he lets his mind wander free, and the world blurs and swirls around the artifact. And then we've got this again. Slowly I open my eyes. This is a repeat of the first line. Slowly I open my eyes. Almost as if this happens quite a lot to him. And we can see that everything has vanished and reality is refocused. So we can kind of guess that the artifact has something to do with altering time, or maybe transporting, teleporting him from one place to another. And he sighed again, this time with relief. Okay. The author still has not said what the artifact does. Okay, so this goes back to show and not tell. Humming with power, time slowing to a fraction. You know, is it the artifact that does this, or is it the person who's writing this? We're not sure. That was close, I said to the night sky as a breeze danced over my skin. The artifact had saved me countless times from people who sought its power, and I in turn protected it from them. Another creeping chill danced over my skin, making the hairs on my arm rise. I was not alone. So again, here we've used short sentences to introduce a menacing part. We've also used dialogue to advance the story on. Okay, that was close. Okay, allows us to go into further explanation of, at this point, the artifact. Okay, so he's explained a little bit more about the artifact. We know it's very powerful, and we know that this person is like its guardian. Okay, the next lines. Did you think you were the only one who could step out of time, boy? I spun around, horrified. Standing there, against the night sky, was the outline of the man, his two puny, evil eyes boring into me. With a sinister smile, his arm began to rise. This time, he wouldn't miss. Oh, chilling. So this time we've used speech again, but it's not the person who is writing this. This is the voice of the man. Okay, and again, this dialogue advances the story. Okay, and there's just a little bit of it. As he spins around, horrified, we've got the outline of the man, his two puny evil eyes, again repeating himself from before, so that you know it's the same man. And his arm begins to rise, similar to before as well. And then we end with this. This time he wouldn't miss. So this at the end, this time he wouldn't miss, and this is the end of the story now. Okay, this is called a cliffhanger, and it's deliberately left like this, so we don't know what happens to the man or the writer. Will he survive? Will the artifact protect him again? We don't know. Okay, so that is the whole point of that, is to leave the ending a little bit ambiguous to make the reader keep on guessing. Excuse me. Okay, so just to recap a few things. This story is written in first person, so there's the use of I. So it's written as if somebody is retelling it. Okay, and it's also written in past tense as well, as if it's already happened. All right. Right. So on to your task. So now today you're going to go on to we're just going to analyse. So I'm going to take a few examples because I've gone on for nearly 15 minutes now. So we're going to look for short sentences. So go down here. And if you want to, if you're working on a computer, you can colour code this right easily. So we're going to have a look for short sentences. So I've got one here. So let's get that one. Let's have a look further down. Let's go with he was coming, because that's quite sinister, isn't it? And let's get one last one from further down here. I quite like this one. The room vanished. The man vanished. Okay. And we're going to just if you're on a computer, you'll be able to copy and paste these. If you're not on a computer, you'll have to write them. So it's a good old analyse lesson. So write me 3 examples of the short sentences in there. I'm just going to do one. And then I have to think about the purpose of a short sentence. So I mentioned before, the purpose of a short sentence is to give the writing pace and excitement. We don't want long bits of description when something exciting is happening. They need to be short, sharp, and quick sentences. So that is to give the writing pace and excitement during that. So the other thing I will talk about very quickly, I think for the rest of it, show not tell I've also gone over in the video. So it'd be very good to have a look. And the cliffhanger is what I mentioned at the end. The one thing I haven't mentioned is I-spaced openers. So there's a couple of openers that I'd like you to look at. A simile opener, I'd like you to try and find those. An adverb opener, a dialogue opener, and an ED opener. And an opener is something that starts off the sentence. So if we're looking for an adverb one, let's say that was in blue. There's an adverb there, so you could do it in that colour. Dialogue openers are things like this, so it's when speech is used at the beginning of a sentence, like that. And then ED openers are words like this, where it just starts off with generally a feeling word. So this one here is terrified. Okay? See if you can find... Oh, sorry, and simile openers. So where are we? Down here. Like a dam bursting. That's a very good simile opener there, if I do say so myself. There is only one more of those, so let's see if you can find the simile opener. Okay, right, so what I'd like you to do for the rest of today is finish off the analyse sheets that you should have in your home learning packs or have been emailed. If you do email it, if you do have the Word version, you can copy and paste and then just send the emails back to Year 6. Okay, any questions, give Miss Wallace an email. All right, thank you, Year 6, and see you tomorrow.